comfortably zoned with the Zigzag Man in Alameda, California, pushing on the doors of life marked pull and fighting the unholy trinity as we go. Big business, organized religion, and government.
I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, in Alameda, California, down by the lagoon and across the bay from San Francisco, in the northern part of the greatest state in the Union. That's my opinion. What do you say, Monty? You're my guest. Monty Heying.
Heying, yes.
I got the pronunciation right. It's the third time you're back. We're going to talk about rent control in Alameda, and you've been the hero. You got it on the ballot, and as we talked about in the last show, and I congratulated you from getting it on the ballot, we feared that there might be, with the powers that be, some folks that would complicate matters. And what went from a simple initiative is now two parts. Would you explain that to the listening audience?
Oh, yeah, it's a battle royal. And first of all, the whole team of the Alameda Renters Coalition are heroes. I mean, I've been inspired by these guys. Some of them, are older people even with disabilities. They were out there, beating the streets and getting signatures and then following up now doing door-to-door stuff and handing out literature and getting people signed up to vote and handing out information. Every one of them is a hero.
Well, who led the way, Monty? Modesty has to be trumped by ego.
I did my share. Yeah, I did my share. I was out there. I enjoyed it. I was scared. I've never done anything like it before. The first day I was scared. I didn't know what to expect. But by the last 2 weeks, I had to be out there. I had to be out there.
Right.
So yeah, we did it.
Out as you were.
Yeah, we did it. But the city pulled a real sneaky deal on us. They already had a city ordinance. They voted in, put into law. City Code 3148, and that was their version, a watered down version of what we really should have in the way of true rent control. But they put it into law, and it had been on the books since March 31st. Well, in July, at the city council meeting, we had a new city manager, and she comes up with this bombshell, and with no warning in the city council meeting, suggesting that the city put their ordinance on the ballot as a ballot measure, and to give the voters a chance to choose between the two. And that's just, it was a legal maneuver. And
okay, now, what really galls me following this as I do is that the support that your opposition is getting from outside of Alameda's folks who aren't in the city.
Oh, God, yes. It's David versus Goliath. We raised, nickels and dimes, passing the hat and all that stuff. There was some union money, put in too, but let's face it, 90% of the, contributions were, like $5, $20, things like that from individuals that live here in Alameda. And we gathered less than $10,000, probably around $7,000, something like that. And I go up on the internet and researched, who our competition was, who was the campaign finance filings, and lo and behold, $766,000 had been raised by a California Apartment Association committee. It's called the Issues Committee, specifically to defeat the charter rent control charter amendment. That's the words they used on their filing in this election. And there were 21 individual donors listed on their contributions. I summed all this up. It took me 2 hours to add all this stuff up. 21 of them were had contributed more than $1,000. And some of these people contributed $50,000, $85,000. None of them, one of them, one of that 21 group of 21, was from in Alameda. All the rest were like Los Gatos, San Francisco, wherever. And then 79 of their contributors were under 1,000. And only 4 of those from Alameda.
Out of towners, do they have interest in Alameda? Are they part of the ownership?
No. Alameda is being any city that has rent control on the ballot is being targeted by the California Apartment Association. They're huge. They're statewide.
Right.
So money.
So this isn't anything that's out of the ordinary directed at Alameda per se. They just do that to these are the big lobbyists that contribute the most money to all the rent control issues, against all the rent control issues. That's the lesson.
They're all realty people. All of these, it's property managers, real estate firms, and some real estate agents. But they just want to defeat rent control. They don't want rent control anywhere. And we were lucky enough. Alameda's, I think, being targeted because Alameda has been so staunchly anti-rent control for over the years. It's never had rent control in Alameda. And
so, what do you think your chances are at this point?
Well, I think they're excellent. I think it's going to be tight.
They're plastering the mails with all the money they have. They're plastering the mails with confusion. One of the things they say is that by defeating you guys, it supports the public schools. How does it do that? Or does it?
That's a new one on me. The only I haven't heard that one. That's completely new to me.
Oh, okay. I saw that sign too.
One of the big things that they harp on, and it's all, they ran a TV commercial, and I did some research. The lady who does the commercial doesn't identify who she is or where she's from. So I did some research and found that she looks strikingly like a realtor from Glendale. And on her website, she advertises that she's very proud of this pipeline of foreign investors that she's developed. And of course, there's a Hong Kong hedge fund active here on the island. We know that. That's been proven. So, what you have is a confluence of an unprecedented exodus of capital post-boom, not just China, but Asian capital. The boom, China the boom bust, and the money left looking for places to be invested. And there's just this flood of foreign money coming up and down the West Coast. Vancouver City of Vancouver, BC, had to impose a 15% tax on foreign investment because they were buying up everything and not doing anything with it. So, this influx of foreign money, Alameda has been chosen as a place to invest and just make millions. They're buying up old apartment complexes, kicking old people out, and doubling the rents. And if Alameda has really serious rent control, the rent control legislation that the city put in place, that ordinance that they've made a ballot measure out of, that ordinance is it can be, first of all, it expires in December 2019, so it's temporary. And so all these real estate people, they know it's just a temporary inconvenience, and they can get rid of it overnight if they want to. Just all our city council has to do is vote it out. But with a ballot measure, which is what we have, it can only be changed by voters, and that they're frightened of it, they're terrified of it. So they're just going all out to.
Well, they should be.
Yeah, they're going all out to defeat it. And,
okay. Is there an alternative plan in case you're defeated? Is there something that renters could hang their hat on, that it's not the end of the line?
Well, there are legal measures that can be taken because the city did some really, well, they lied to us. They, for example, in a city council meeting, they hired this consultant to give them an estimate, do a study, and come up with an estimate of what kind of fee they should charge to raise the money for this new ordinance, rent control ordinance they put in place. Well, and then this guy stood up in the meeting and gives his presentation on what the city should be charging, for their fee. I think it's $131, per unit, charged, to fund their ordinance. And then they ask him, what's M1 going to cost? What's our ballot measure going to cost? And he says, well, it's kind of like Berkeley, so it'll be $234. What he did is he selected the highest, the costliest, without doing a lick of analysis on Measure M1. He just says, well, it ought to be this. And he runs that out at $3.7 million, which is $2 million, almost $2 million more than the city's ordinance. Without doing a lick of analysis on our, he tells them what it's going to cost. Okay, the next thing we see is that $3.7 million is being bandied about all over the internet, all over the media. Councilman Odie wrote an op-ed piece that was published in both local newspapers talking about this. Well, he even ran it up to $4.3 million. And so they got this fraudulent stuff about how expensive M1 is going to be without doing any analysis. And I exposed them. I went through, and I just today sent a release to the media, all of the Bay Area, all the major media, including local newspapers, an article titled "A $3.7 million Lie," because this $3.7 million is being quoted by the TV advertisements of the California Apartment Association. It's on flyers. It's on yard signs. They're just going all out talking about how expensive that M1 is going to cost. Cost the city, and it's an absolute lie. And so I actually sent a copy of my article to the city council and the mayor and city manager and the city attorney, because they perjured themselves. What can we believe now? Now that they've spread this lie about our measure in order to defeat it, how can they be believed? How can anything they say be believed? So
that could be a protest right there. You could sue based on that.
Exactly. They've lied in a big way, in a very visible, provable way. And so that's one thing we can do. We can come up with a lawsuit.
Okay. Monty, we kind of joked the last time about, I think I asked you the question whether or not there's any one individual in Alameda city government that's an ally of the Alameda Renter Coalition and what they stand for and what you guys are looking for.
None that I know of.
I ask you.
No.
None.
Nobody's got the courage. Malia Vela is running for office, but so she gets in. I expect she said some things in city council meetings that she hasn't come and outright endorsed M1 or anything, but she said some things that give me some comfort that she would have an ear open for treating renters in a more fair way.
Okay.
But the whole city council's got to go. The mayor's got to go. All those people. if they don't vote for this, if this doesn't win by an overwhelming margin, in fact, even if it does, it's a, what do you call it, a plebiscite. It's a mandate. It's a message. If we win big, if we get 60, 80% of the vote or something like that.
Right. I don't think you're going to get 60 to 80% of the vote.
Yeah, well.
There's just because they've confused it and muddied the water, and
right.
You have to vote for it, you have to do two separate things. Explain that. There are two separate ordinances. Explain to the novice voter who just doesn't
really
know.
Really simple. L1 means landlords first.
Okay.
You don't need to know anything more than that. L1 means landlords first.
Okay.
And just the only other rent control measure is M1. That's what's left. That's us. That's a charter amendment.
Okay, so you vote no on L1.
No on L1.
Yes on the other one.
Yes
okay.
on M1. Absolutely.
All right. It would have been simpler if it would have been a one-thing decision. But you explain it well. It's easy to remember.
Exactly.
Landlords one. And
the only reason that L1 is on the ballot, all it does is take the city ordinance and let people vote on it. And it's already, but they won't need it because it's already law. If it's already law, then why vote on it?
Not just to simply confuse the issue.
Exactly. The only reason L1 is on the ballot is to confuse voters and draw votes away from M1. That's the only reason. That's deceit.
Yes, and I think that people are easily confused. Not to say we haven't picked great candidates on a national level.
Right.
I don't have much trust in the folks the voters out there making decisions. What is this country coming to? So we're a microcosm. Our little city here is a microcosm of it all. I'm shaking my head. That's the only thing I can say.
It's really sad, right? We've been betrayed by the people, and lied to and betrayed by the people running city government.
Hey, on a federal level, you talk about the Democratic primaries. I think we were somewhat deceived by Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Let's
exactly right.
Understand that. And the candidate that would be more in tune with the people, and I think the renters are more the people than the landlords, would have been Bernie Sanders. So if they could do it on a national level, they're going to do it on a local level.
I've
always suggested. Go ahead.
I'm very, very, very disappointed in our city government, and I think we need a complete change because we've been betrayed. And I wrote a book about this. It's just self-published it, and you can buy. The bookstore wouldn't touch it because it was too. BookSync wouldn't touch it because it was too political. But Spritzer's Coffee, you can get a copy of it. It's Spritzer's Coffee.
But, Nick, you're out there. It's not all that controversial, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
It's the people's, and I understand it all, but it isn't. The people's rights aren't controversial. We the people have been made to be grateful for our rights when we get them. And this is a perfect example. Government not being in tune with the folks. I'm saddened because I have ties in Alameda. I've been here like 25 years. And I wish Trish was helping more. The mayor. I mean, I like her. She's my friend.
Very likable. But she, and she's got a tough job when you think about it. She came into office and got hit by a buzzsaw.
Right. Well, I think her number one support just fleed like a rat off a sinking boat. right off the bat. And this is something that is new to Alameda. Alameda's very staid for them to make decisions of any kind that reflect progression. You need a black party. That's it.
For them to come out, but that trick they pulled, those two tricks back to back. One was putting the ordinance on the ballot.
Right. Oh yes, that was. If it's already law, then that's deceit, and I think a lawsuit. I look at things. What's just? It just doesn't seem just that some judge would say, well, maybe some judges in the same country club as the landlords and the city councilman. Never mind.
Right.
You're messed up. We're messed up as people. So let's just hypothetically say that you lose. Is there a way that the people of Alameda can make it impossible for these realtors and these people that rip off the people and take advantage to the point where they're throwing grandmothers out? I've had people interviewed on this airwave that tell stories. My best friend in town, Scott Gilpin, and his lovely wife, Diane, who's a kidney donor. That's kind of to her neighbor. That's the kind of people they are. Right. They got to retirement age, and they added it all up. You know where they're living now instead of Alameda, where they called their home for 30-some-odd years?
I think you told me.
They're in Rockland.
In
Rockland.
Rockland, yeah, right.
Yeah, the gateway to Roseville.
Yeah, I know well, yeah.
Their minds go to die, for instance, and the weather sucks, and everything is horrible about it. But you can't afford to live in Alameda. They've been there 30 years because some landlord keeps raising the rent consistently every year, until they don't know if this thing's going to pass. They can't afford to make.
We could get.
So they split, and there's all of us have friends and neighbors who have been affected by this. So
I think all we can do is get another petition up and call for a special election.
Okay, that would be the next step. But I started to say, is there a way that folks can get together and make it impossible for these landlords, mostly realty companies, I won't even mention them, and just make it impossible for them to do business in Alameda? You have
I don't know. That's the rent strike, something like that.
Well, I'm not even saying a rent strike.
Yeah.
You just because you're not. I thought about that a lot. I was one of the first people that said eventually it's going to have to come to a rent strike. But that's organizing folks for a rent strike. It's got to be very difficult, unbelievably difficult.
Well,
it's easier to organize some folks to just simply make it impossible for these businesses, flood them with phone calls every day, picket their businesses, something like that.
But when people find out they've been lied to and tricked after the election, if they don't get really mad about that, lied to about the $3.7 million. And tricks with the putting the city ordinance on the ballot. That
they don't get mad. But again, a lot of it is finding out about it. You're not getting the best of coverage from the media.
That's true.
About what's going on. Am I correct?
That's true.
Okay, you're disappointed in both papers to some extent.
Oh, very disappointed in the Journal.
Okay.
And
just want to hear your words and
somewhat disappointed in the Sun. Absolutely, yeah, that's true.
Okay, so how to get the word out, and that would be something we'd have to cross that bridge burn that bridge when we come to.
Yeah, we do a lot on social media, but we got to newsletter, maybe a separate street magazine of some kind, weekly street magazine of some kind, like the street sheets or whatever.
Right, or a consistent advertising in both newspapers. I mean, they may not give you a fair break editorially, but they'll be glad to take your money.
No, they will, but that's and we're being sucked dry by rent. Where we get money when our pockets are being drained, paying 50, 60, 70% of our income in rent.
And you got the outside interests and big money and and landlords coalitions putting big money against you. That's
it may be too late.
Alternative plans
have
to be made because money seems to win out. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying a lot of it is based on that. So
sure, no question. They can flood the airwaves with lies.
Okay. Is there no one? I was going to ask you. You mentioned somebody who's running for city council might be an ally. What is her name?
Maria Vela. She went to several of the city council meetings and spoke on behalf of renters.
Okay.
So it seems to be, her sentiments seem to be in favor of renters.
Okay, so she's running in this election for city council, and who's she running against?
Roloff. We got to defeat Roloff.
Okay.
Roloff, Daysog. Ashcraft's kind of okay. I'm disappointed in her too, but I think she could be educated. I just think she was overwhelmed. She made the statement at one of the city council meetings when she voted to put the L1 on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
She made the statement that, the landlords need to be able to renovate their property. They need to be able to renovate. Well, if she'd read M1, she'd know that it's provided for in there. She could not have read Section 7 of M1 and said what she said. She could not. She's an intelligent person. She could not have read that and honestly said that, implied that M1 doesn't allow landlords to renovate their property. That's totally wrong.
Right.
She did not understand M1. So I think she's, educatable.
Okay.
I like her, and she's expressed some compassion a few times. I haven't heard compassionate word out of Odie or Daysog or the mayor. I'm sorry, I haven't. It's always the first words out of the mouth. Well, what about this? If the landlord, blah, 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 it's just always about the landlord. And it wasn't that way with Ashcraft. She says, well, I understand, blah, 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 and it's about the renters. She actually could express sympathy toward renters. That did not happen with any of the others. That's why I'm deeply.
Renters, the way I see it, let's get somebody in office, no matter. I don't know how they're pronouncing it these days. But let's get somebody there who could help us, and that is Ms. Vela, Vella.
I agree.
She's running for city council.
Yep.
And remember, L1, which means landlords won. We vote no on that. I have a very simple way now, Monty. You help me a lot because now when it comes down to me, I just go for that little sticker that I put on my shirt. I voted. And then 2 or 3 days later, I look at it and I go, whoa.
Yeah.
I did vote in the primaries for the Democratic candidate who was Bernie Sanders. So I'm ripped off on the federal. I really supported Bernie. And I really feel incredibly ripped off by the DNC. And yes, I know Trump is horrible, and Clinton is clearly the lesser of the two evils. Yeah. It seems. So, interesting times, Monty. You're gonna write it. All this is going to go in your memoirs, right?
Yeah, but the book is out. In fact, the second edition is coming out Monday, and I only printed 100 copies of the first edition, and I got a lot more material to put in the second edition.
Beautiful. And when the time comes, after all the smoke is cleared and after you finally win this battle and we can go on to the next one, we're going to combine forces someday and we're going to start taxing religion.
There we go. I tell you, they should get no.
And we're going to solve all the social problems. Let's start in Alameda. We won't be the first city to do it. There's a city, I think it's in Alaska, that taxes churches, mosques, and synagogues. And you know what? Wow, you get to know, they pay property taxes. They pay property taxes. Can they do that? Yeah, you just have to bill them. That's all. Where is it written that they can't? Let's bill them and see what happens. Property taxes? How about taxes on their little businesses? Like, let's assume you have a school that makes millions of dollars.
Right.
It's a parochial school, a private school that pays their teachers substantially under the going rate to be able to do this.
Yeah,
okay?
University of Santa Clara, yeah.
Yeah, well, how about this? St. Joe's right here in Alameda.
Right.
And they pay no taxes on all the rental property that these people own down the Gold Coast. No taxes on that. And they pay no taxes on the business of being in church. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
And to make it wouldn't even bother me. I wouldn't even think about it until I realized one day when I was like about 7 that they politicize from the pulpit. And you know what that does? That takes away the separation of church and state. That blurs the line.
Yeah, it does.
That one of the things in the Constitution that says we're not run by the church. We're not a Christian nation or any other kind of nation with a religion. All right? And, but, again, Catholic Church owns Yankee Stadium. I'm a baseball fan. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
What can I tell you? Plus, half again in New York, for Christ's sake. But that's the way it goes. First your money, then your clothes. That's what they tell you if you ask them. Really nice. Thank you, sir, for being a part of my ongoing pursuit to tell things as they are.
You're welcome.
And to have the most interesting folks I can find to come on the show. Monty, thank you. I'm going to end the episode the way I always end my episodes on this Comfortably Zoned Network presentation of Flying High Over the Zone. I implore you to keep your dreams wet, keep your humor dry, keep your children out of military recruiting stations, and your grandchildren too, and off the laps of clerics that wear dresses.
Hey, don't forget to play the
do all that. Now, that's only 4 or 5. And I'm going to tell you, to top it off by saying, and keep on keeping on. If you do all those things, chances are, even if you did 3 out of 4 of those things, wouldn't it be a good life? You know what I mean? Some people choose to ignore advice like that, and some people say, wow, that's a good idea. Keep my kid off the laps of a guy with a funny look on his face and a dress. It's just to be on the safe side, Monty. Always be on the safe side.
Absolutely.
You're going to help me someday. We're going to fight all this. We're going to tax religion.
Right. Okay.
All right. We'll catch up with you soon, Monty. If I don't see you on my birthday, November 8th, when it's election day, too, if I don't see you before then, we'll talk shortly afterwards.
All right. Take care.
Be good, Monty.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Adios, everybody. Keep on keeping on.
The host has joined the conference.